Hey friends, welcome. Today we're going to discuss on MVC. MVC stands for Model View Controller. It's a design pattern and this design pattern is widely used in industry and it is also preferred as this design pattern makes things really easy to develop. Friends, MVC is nothing but one of many ways to develop software or web application. Let us understand and discuss more on MVC. Why MVC? Basically, MVC is used for code usability and separation of concern. Well, code usability is easy to understand. We can reuse the code. Let us understand what is separation of concern. Separation of concern. Now, what are these concerns? These concerns are nothing but model, view, and controller. What is a view? Whatever is in front of us, which is visually available and visually visible to us, is the view. For example, a web page. A web page which is in front of us is view. Now, in order to generate and create a web page, we may require HTML, JSP, maybe CSS or any other language. Now, under MVC, view part, the code which is responsible to generate the view for the web page is categorized as view, and all the view related code is separated and is kept somewhere else. Now, what is model? Model basically deals with database interaction. If we have a data and we would like to store the data in the database, we will tell the model to store the data in the database and model will do it. Likewise, whenever we require an information from the database, we will ask model to do the same. Now friends, all the database interaction is handled by model and the code related to database interaction are kept under model. Now model is a concern and all the model related code are kept separately. Now controller is like a manager for view and model. Controller will manage when and which view to show, and controller will also manage that which data to be fetched or which data to be stored. So the overall business logic is being implemented in the controller. If we talk about JSP and servlet, a controller would be always a servlet, whereas JSP, HTML, XML, CSS, these files would be used under view, whereas a servlet or a Java class could be used as a model for database interaction. So let's understand MVC with respect to this form. If we talk about this form, this particular form which is in front of us, it is nothing but form. Obviously, we have made use of HTML and maybe JSP in order to generate this form, and all the view part is view. This is as simple as that. And if we talk about this particular form, there could be some processing required. For example, if we submit a form with an invalid date format, some processing needs to be required in order to tell the user that the date format is not proper, and that processing needs to be done by a mechanism which is nothing but the controller. So all the business logic which is implemented in the MVC pattern would be handled by the controller. So in this form, whenever we will submit, if there is any calculation or any business logic needs to be implemented, controller will implement that. Finally, whenever we will submit this form needs to be stored somewhere, and this storage would be done by the model. So this is the whole and sole overview of MVC. Even for calling the model, even for that case, controller would be responsible. Controller will call the model for storing all this information. So we have checked what is MVC by making use of this presentation. And in order to understand this more, we have created this very simple web application, and the working of this web application we will check in the next lecture for sure. But in this particular web application, there are a couple of JSP files, and which JSP file needs to be loaded depending on the URL would be handled by a controller. So we would be creating a controller which will handle which file to be loaded depending on the condition, and this would be a very simple MVC web application in fact. And In this particular web application, we will surely not check database interaction. We will check it down the line, and in fact we will make things simple, and we will develop this very simple web application using MVC pattern, and later down the line we will definitely check more complex projects in fact. So this is all about today's lecture, and we will check the MVC in detail in the next lecture using a program. Thank you for watching and have a nice day.